Hi, I'm Karl Konrad and part of the team at Australian Immigration Law Services. We've been in immigration for 22 years and have loads of experience helping people get their visas. We've seen immigration law become increasingly confusing and difficult, and we want to help you understand it. If you want to live, work or study in Australia, subscribe to this channel to get our videos weekly. When you apply for the 190 or 491 visa, you need to get approval from both the state and from the immigration department. Every state has a different system and a different set of rules. To apply to the ACT, you will need to complete the Canberra Matrix. The Canberra Matrix is an independent points test developed by the ACT to help the ACT government decide who they want to select. This points test is different and separate from the Skills Select Expression of Interest. When you submit your interest to the ACT for the 190 or 491 visa, you will need to complete a form that looks like this. You get scored on a number of categories. There is no minimum point score needed, but the more points the better because there are limited places and only the highest scores are chosen. So let's talk about how you can score these points. The critical skills list. You get 20 points for having nominated an occupation on the ACT critical skills list. Now you can visit the ACT official website to check it out, and we'll leave a link in the description below. But it's important to remember that this list may change without notice, and this would have a large impact upon a person's total score if the occupation was suddenly removed. Length of ACT residence. Your score points is based upon how long you've lived in the ACT. To prove your residency, you have to show bank statements evidencing the date of your arrival in Canberra. Your residency does not need to be continuous, but you must record any period where you're away for more than 7 days or more. You can have up to 6 weeks of holidays away from Canberra in any 1 year, but if you exceed the 6 weeks, that year cannot be counted. If you have worked interstate or overseas, that time cannot count towards your ACT residency either. You can, however, live in New South Wales if you are within a 30-minute commute of your workplace in Canberra. For example, if you live in Queanbeyan and have a job located within 30 minutes that is in Canberra. If you study interstate, that's fine, but if your study is more than 2 days or 1 night a week away, you won't be considered to be residing in Canberra while you are studying. It sounds strict. Well, it is. You are required to fill out a form detailing all the times you're away and if you are interstate or overseas. English proficiency. This one is pretty straightforward. You and your partner, if you have one, will score more points for a high level of proficiency. You will need to demonstrate this through an English test, which you need as part of your documents for the immigration department anyway. If you are exempt from an English test as you have a passport from an eligible country, that counts as competent level of English and you will not score any points for that. If you want a higher point score, you must take an English test to meet the required scores for the higher proficiency levels. Length of ACT employment. You can claim points for having worked in Canberra in the preceding 2 years before your submission of interest, and there's some good news here. This can be work in any occupation and doesn't need to be full-time or permanent, so long as it is for a minimum of 20 hours a week. You can have multiple employers to make up this 20 hours. Any week without 20 hours cannot be counted. As it is counted by week, work doesn't need to be continuous. You can also be self-employed. And if you are, you will need to have an ABN and been operating a business for at least 12 months in Canberra, and every week of self-employment claimed must show at least $500 a week in income. These rules are similar to that required for work experience for the 491 visa, but if you're going after the 190 visa, you will have a tougher nomination requirements for work experience, such as a minimum of 35 hours instead of 20 hours per week. Nomination requirements and the Canberra Matrix are not the same thing. You must meet nomination requirements to be eligible, and the Canberra Matrix is an additional scoring system for the selection of eligible candidates. Skill level. If you've been working in a skilled occupation in the ACT, you can claim points for at least 20 hours a week in the 3 months right before you submit your interest. Now, the work experience must be continuous in this case. If your terms of employment include leave, you can take paid leave. If your leave is not included, you cannot take unpaid leave unless you have a medical certificate to show for it. Otherwise, you will not be eligible. Your annual income must exceed $50,000 if you are employed full-time. Alternatively, you need to be earning at least $26 per hour for part-time or casual employment. If you're self-employed, the same rule applies of operating a business for 12 months of $500 a week. You will need to have a tertiary qualification also that is relevant to your occupation. Employment that can be claimed must be post-qualification and must also be the same as you're claiming in the Skill Select expression of interest. Skilled partner. If you have a partner, you get points if they have been working in Canberra in the 3 months before you submit your interest. If they don't have 3 months, they are still awarded 5 points for having a tertiary qualification. The 3 months of work follow the same rules as the skilled employment, being at least 20 hours a week, continuous employment, and no unpaid leave. You can work with multiple employers or be self-employed. In addition to the work or qualification requirement, your partner must also have at least competent English. Tertiary qualifications. More points are given to higher degrees, with the lowest score at 5 points given to those who have a diploma qualifications from at least 2 years of full-time study. This must be the same as what you enter in your Skill Select expression of interest. ACT Tertiary Study. You earn more points if you have more years of study. You need to have studied in a CRICOS registered course or attended a professional year program in the last 8 years. You must have been a resident in the ACT during the study, and distance education or online attendance does not count. Professional year programs are counted as 1 year of study. You can count 1 or 2 courses together, including a professional year. If you're counting more than 1 course, the courses cannot be taken at the same time, however. Family. If you have a family member who is an Australian permanent resident or citizen, you get points if they are a partner or child. Other family members, such as parents, grandparents, siblings, are eligible for less points. The family member must have lived in Canberra for at least 2 years. Assets. If you have significant assets in the ACT, this also gives you points. You get points if you have spent at least $250,000 on residential or commercial property in Canberra. Now, land ownership is not eligible. Otherwise, you can show that you've invested $200,000 in the business. Now, this can be through purchasing or establishing a business. You must have a majority of ownership in and at least $200,000 in turnover in 1 year in the last 2 years. Or if your $200,000 investment can be in a startup business which is technologically driven and has a high growth potential. Now, the application process is, needless to say, a laborious one. Yes, some of the documents can be used in both your ACT application and the application to the Immigration Department, but to score well in the Canberra Matrix will require a lot of additional evidence. Still, the ACT is less difficult than other states like New South Wales. Also, the 189 visa has become extremely difficult to get, and the 190 and 491 visas are far more realistic. Given the immigration regulations change relatively quickly and occupation lists revise yearly, it is a smarter decision to choose pathways with a higher probability instead of holding out for hope of what you feel would be your ideal. I hope this has helped you understand the ACT application process better. Reach out if you need help, and of course, thank you for watching. Please show us your support by subscribing and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If there's important updates, we'll release videos as soon as possible. Visit australiavisa.com to learn more about us and to check out the IMMI News blog while you're there. Join the community over Facebook as well. And as always, take care out there, and I will see you next time. So bye for now.